Hello. Welcome to a new episode of CatF1sh. I got to talk to the actual Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas on Twitter today, and I'm still riding that high. Grace.
And I'm currently obsessed with the off-brand version of Dipsy from the Teletubbies. Sari.
Are you talking about Dream?
Yeah.
God.
I just think it's a great comparison.
I mean, yeah, but... Dang.
Am I wrong? No.
Teletubbies Bitcoin.
I don't even know what's going on with Teletubbies.
I don't know what's going on in that either. We shouldn't even bring that up.
No. It's not our forte. That's not what we're here to talk about.
We're not here to talk about Teletubbies and cryptocurrency. What we are here to talk about is the Bahrain Grand Prix.
F1 is back. Yes. I'm so excited. Just the season is back. Feels good. It feels right. I'm so just... And that race. That fucking race.
That race. I mean, the season's back, and then they're like, peace out for 3 weeks.
Yeah, it feels really weird because we're like, oh, we're back. And they're like, no, you have to wait another 3 weeks for the next race. And we're like,
right.
Damn it.
I know, but I mean, like, it won't feel this way when we have all of those one after the other, like,
yeah,
bam, because this
calendar that's gonna be
super packed.
Exhausting.
Right. Yeah.
Not for us fans. We're gonna love every second of it, but I just feel bad for the teams to ship everything up and go to the next track within like 3 weeks in a row, just like constantly moving, constantly packing things up.
It's a lot.
It is. It is.
How do you feel about Bahrain as an opener?
No, I feel like it wasn't horrible. I guess like we're all used to having Australia kind of, and starting off there. I mean, last season obviously we didn't because everything with COVID. But I wasn't mad about it.
Neither was I.
I was kind of just like, and it gave us a decent race too.
Right.
So I feel like that's what matters. If you want to have an exciting season opener. And sometimes Australia does not give you that. It doesn't really give you a very exciting season opener. But I think Bahrain was able to do that for us.
Right. Well, and I think the other side of it is that, like, Australia is kind of a pain in the ass for everyone else in the world. And that, like,
it is.
It's a huge pain in the ass for me to, like, and I know this is, like, first world problems, but, like, it's just, like, majority of people in Europe and America, it's...
Yeah.
There's just such a huge time gap that it's like, oof.
Especially when your fan base is majority in Europe, I think you would want to at least orientate. Is that the right word? Orient? There we go. Holy shit, it's a Wednesday. Orient your like season opener to be just like on par with the majority of your audience, I guess.
Right, and like this isn't to necessarily discredit like all of Australia. Like I'm not trying to just like throw Oceania out the window and be like they shouldn't even have a race. But I think it is just kind of like the track itself. It's not the most spectacular track.
Well, they also, I think they changed. I don't remember. I think corner. This is gonna be wrong, but like 7 or 9. They changed one of the corners, so now I'm like, I was looking and I was like, you just got rid of an overtaking opportunity like that. They like evened it out instead of. It's the corner where you're coming down, you brake, and then it kind of swoops around where it goes into that chicane.
Right.
On like the back portion, I was like, but that's, I don't know. I feel like they kind of just got rid of an overtake area in order to just pick up the speed. I don't know.
Right.
I was very curious as why they did that.
I mean, like I have the same feelings about like Abu Dhabi as a closer. I'm just like, man, it's go out with a bang, not go out with a fizzle.
Exactly. Like I mean, if you're gonna have Australia and Abu Dhabi, I think put them in the middle of the season, but you want to be able to have a strong beginning and a strong ending, because that's where you're already going to get the majority of your views at the beginning and at the end of the season. So why not push to make them as dramatic and as spectacular as possible?
Well, and like they were reporting, they were like, man, we have like a super like high uptick in viewers for this year's like first opener race. And I was like, well, yeah, maybe because it's in like it was during a reasonable time for majority of your base, like
where everybody's actually awake at a decent time.
Yeah.
Except for Australia.
And I understand that this definitely feels and is coming off as like very, not necessarily like American centric, but like Eurocentric in my kind of criticism of it, but I can whine.
I mean, that's what we're here for. We've got a podcast. We can whine about whatever we want.
I can whine about whatever I want.
I will say, though, I did see that because Germany went exclusively with Sky, I believe, people who want to pay the £30, they saw like a 75% decrease in their viewership. But I'm like, not only do you have Sebastian Vettel, you have Mick Schumacher. Like, you could be, like, why put such a huge paywall between you and such a huge audience?
Right.
So.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was a kid, F1 was so just readily available on just normal TV, normal satellite TV. And you just flip on a race, whether it's a rerun or an actual one, and it was so easy to watch. But nowadays, I have to pay for F1 TV in order to watch a race because I don't pick it. It doesn't necessarily pick up on any of channels. But granted, I don't pay for satellite TV, but even at home, where my mom does, like, I can't find shit on F1. Like, I have to use...
It's on ESPN Plus. So it's on ESPN Plus and then F1 TV. I pay for F1 TV, and my uncle uses ESPN Plus, and it's just like.
Occasionally they will have F1, I think on like ESPN2 as well, but that's also like, it's never a guarantee, I feel like.
But I would make the point that I think that that's more of an American thing because it's just not as in the American conscious as it is in other areas of the world.
That's very true. Because, I mean, like, what was it, Monday, I think was the dirt race for NASCAR. I literally flipped on Fox, which was just, like, the standard cable, and it was on.
Yeah.
So it's, like, that has major priority compared to F1.
Yeah. I mean, it's to no small effort of F1, they've been trying to tap into the American audience for decades and have yet to reach the level of success and like notoriety that they hold in Europe.
Yeah.
Which is a podcast topic for another day.
Yeah, we'll discuss that later.
In terms of the actual race, what we're here to talk about.
Well, do we want to go over qualifying first?
Sure.
I guess because I mean, qualifying kind of just sets the pace for the rest of the.
You're right.
But I guess, what did you think of qualifying Q1 through Q3?
I mean, I was disappointed for Vettel. I think he got caught up in those yellow flags, and there's really only so much you can do in that kind of situation. Which had him starting pretty far back because, like, I mean, it's not hard to, like, look at where Lance Stroll was starting from and where Sebastian Vettel was starting from and kind of say, like, okay, well, there's something going on here. Which just, like, I was disappointed in that aspect. I don't know, I just had weird feelings about hearing Bottas describe the Merc as undrivable.
Yeah.
That was really, I was like, huh?
Yeah. No, I agree.
And kudos to Max Verstappen for getting on pole. Good on you. You didn't hold on to it, but good on you.
Yeah, I think it was just for Vettel. He could. Granted, he didn't have the best race either, but he also just kept getting hammered by the FAA. I think he got 5 penalty points.
No, he got.
I was like,
oh no, he did get 5. Yeah.
He had 5 because, with the yellow flag, he apparently didn't slow it down enough, so he got that, and then the 2 that he got with his incident with Esteban during the race.
Right.
So I feel like part of it is he does have to get used to the car. Because, I mean, looking at Lance, the car's not horrible. It's not great. It's not horrible, though. So I think he has to get used to it, and he has to just settle in. But I also think it's race 1. I'm not going to judge him super harshly on anything. I
try not to make all defining statements out of the first race.
Yeah.
Never goes well.
I agree. But the Yuki impressed me the most. Just altogether, he impressed me the most throughout the entire weekend. I was like, please make it to Q3. Like, your F1 debut, you make it into Q3, that would have been amazing. But he got out of Q2. But I was like, even after that, he did great. I was super proud of him. But the fucking Ferraris, the end of Q2, I was like, what is going on here? Both of them, like, top of the chart.
I was like, someone needs to check those engines again. This is real sus.
Yeah. And then I realized they were on softs, and I was like, okay, that kind of explains that. But,
no, I totally
yeah.
I was like, they wouldn't do it again. No.
What?
No.
Yeah, but I was kind of impressed with the Ferraris this weekend, too. They did pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's no secret, and it's no revolutionary statement to say that Charles Leclerc is a talent.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's not a new statement.
We've said it before.
Say it again. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it was such a solid race. I was interested to see that Fernando Alonso was more, like, strong on his feet than I think a lot of people were anticipating him to be after 2 years out.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks that he had to retire in the end, but he wasn't struggling as bad as, like you said, people might have thought or figured he would have. I mean, he wasn't fantastic, but he wasn't horrible.
He wasn't 2005 Fernando Alonso by any stretch of the means. But, like, and ultimately his retirement wasn't even his own fault. It was through a completely uncontrollable thing, i.e. a sandwich wrapper. Which, R.I.P. to the Alpine person who got fired for that. Just kidding.
Motherfuckers, this is why you don't eat in the garage.
Seriously, don't litter. What the heck? No, but it was interesting to see that he was a lot more sturdy on his feet than I think many, many people were projecting him to be. Because, I mean, he just... In the comparative scale of Formula One drivers' age, he's a little bit older. He's not actually old.
Oh.
But on the scale of F1 driver age,
he's
on the older end. Like current F1 drivers. Obviously, there are drivers who are much older than him. Yeah, that was interesting. And the McLaren looks pretty good. It really does.
I think that we're definitely going to be seeing at least 2 podiums from both drivers this season, just because they looked so solid. And going into the first few laps, I think it was before, I can't remember if it was lap, like, initially or the lap after we restarted after the safety car, but they were fighting each other, and it was like, damn, like, they're going at it. Like, they were like wheel-to-wheel kind of action before I think Daniel had to let Lando by because of a yellow flag. But they look sharp, and they look like a really good contender. I think they've definitely improved from last season, and while they it was a luck thing for them to get P3 last year, I think this year it's going to be more of their actual like talent within their cars and within their drivers as well. But yeah, they impressed me. I felt really bad. Speaking of the McLarens, for Pierre Gasly to have just completely lost his front wing against Daniel, and I was
brutal.
So you poor thing.
Brutal,
he was
behind
behind the whole entire race, and he just couldn't catch up because he lost so much time.
I saw him down at the bottom of the leaderboard, and I was like, ugh.
This hurts me.
I mean, I saw a bunch of like memes afterwards where people were like, someone should really be checking on Pierre because he's probably not doing too hot right now. And it's just like, I mean, but like that's just the name of the game sometimes. Shit happens that's out of your control.
Yeah.
And like it just sucks.
Yeah. Speaking of shit happens out of control, Sergio Perez fucking couldn't even make it to the starting grid because his car just took a shit on him.
His car was literally somehow like, I'm done.
Somehow he was able to, starting from pit lane, get up to P5. Like, he got driver of the day, fucking driver of the year right there. Okay, done. Print it, kind of thing. I was insanely impressed with his ability to just work his way up through the grid with that car, knowing it had issues.
I mean, he's such like a just like head down. I'm gonna get this shit done. I'm going. It's like not involved in like overly dramatic driving, which I think we can see sometimes. No. He's far more just like, I'm gonna get this shit done, and I'm gonna go home to my kids, and I'm gonna like call it a day.
We saw this last year though too when he got his win. He started from last basically, worked his way up to the field, and secured a P1. So we know this is like, I feel like this is gonna end up being his thing, which shouldn't be his thing, because he should just be able to fucking start where he qualified and then work up from there. Right. But he's able to just put in all of his effort, all of his skills, just zone in, do what he has to get the results that he wants.
I mean, he's so good. He seriously is so good. And I think Red Bull taking him has given him that like little pep in his kind of step, and that extra little boost of confidence for him to be like, no, I am good. Not that like he was not confident before, but just that like they pushed him over the edge. They're like, there you go.
Exactly. I think it's just having him in Formula One still, and for him in his first race at a new team to be able to do that with everything that was stacked against him, I think it reaffirms why he's still in Formula One and why he still deserves to be in Formula One.
Right. So. Yeah, I think now just the question is, with how we've seen Red Bull's situation with drivers in the past, can this keep up?
Yeah, that will be the question. And I think, Red Bull isn't stupid. I think they know that all eyes are on them in this term of zoning in on Sergio and just evaluating how he does compared to Max, because that is the narrative against Red Bull, is that their number 2 drivers don't get treated as well as Max does. So it'll be interesting if he's able performing well and even outperform Max in the end, if that's on the tables.
Yeah. On the table. I mean,
not tables plural.
I said this in an earlier episode, and I stand by this. I think Red Bull understands that if what happened to Alex and Pierre and Brandon Hartley, like if what happens to them if a similar thing happens to Sergio Perez, I think they know this. Majority of people are just going to finally put their foot down and be like, it's Red Bull's problem. And I think they know that. I think they know that if this same rabbit hole situation, I'm explaining this so terribly, but if this same rabbit hole situation happens with Perez, I think they understand that the majority of the community is going to look at them and say, what is your problem? Because it can't
instead
be
of
all
blaming
of these people.
Instead of blaming it on the new talent and like the freshness of drivers, we can instead, if the same thing happens with a seasoned driver who is a proven talent, a race winner at that too. It's like, if the same thing happens to him that's happened to all your other drivers, then we can kind of narrow down the reasoning as to why. And not just blame the talent.
Right. Speaking of Red Bull, again, congrats to Max Verstappen on pole.
Yeah.
What a good fight. I loved it. I loved it so much. It was so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And just I was sitting there and I was like, oh my God, this is what Formula One should be. I should be on the edge of my seat. For almost the entire race.
Yeah, exactly. Because not only it started off with just midfield battles within the race, which, I mean, we're always going to have those. And a lot of them were really good. Lando versus Charles for a little bit. We saw some action between the Alfa Romeos and even George, I think, and Kimi were kind of fighting for a moment. There was a three-way battle between Carlos, Alonso, and Seb. There were just action all over the field, which was great. But it was even better to see that happen at the front of the pack as well.
Right.
And it kind of only happened towards the end of the race, but you could feel the buildup of oh, it's coming.
Right.
This final battle is coming because it's all about pit strategies. Merc pit, is Red Bull gonna pit? No, they don't. They're going longer. What's happening?
Right.
It came down to the wire kind of thing, and it was so nice, not only to see that within the race, but even just in qualifying, the battling it out of who's going to go fastest, situation and. Ugh! If we, I feel the flaw with last season, was that, while we had interesting races, it kind of always ended up relying on random shit happening.
Right.
Whereas, so far with this one race, we're saying, oh, this is the cars, actually. This is their drivers.
To your credit, what you
going
said
head to head.
Earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I mentioned this on Twitter. I mean, I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan. I'm not ashamed of that fact. I will not hide that fact. But I will freely admit that fight made his win mean so much more. It made it so much sweeter, so much because obviously I'm always excited when he wins, but to see him really have to fight and work his ass off for that win, that's an awesome feeling.
I mean, even he said that himself basically in the post-race interview, and you could tell just the way he was talking as well. I was this was exciting for him to actually fight against someone instead of being 5 fucking miles ahead of everybody else. He was excited to prove his worth again against a reasonable opponent.
Right.
And he's excited about it. Everybody's excited about it, kind of thing. And it's going to be great to see the battle at the front continue because it's not going to be just Mercedes. After this first race, I can honestly say that Red Bull is the better car compared to the Mercedes. Red Bull is the better car.
I have to agree. I think.
I think Red Bull might have
work in this gap that may switch the scale again, but as of right now,
at the moment Red Bull is definitely the better car. Not to say that they're perfect though, because obviously Max was struggling with his car, Sergio had his problems, so it's not perfect, and neither is the Mercedes, we know. But as it stands, Red Bull has the better car.
Right.
So.
I mean, we used to say this in dance all the time, and I feel like in some ways, because I don't think like anybody's car is ever gonna be perfect, because what does it? But like we used to say this in dance all the time, and I think it holds weight in really any situation where like sports is involved. But my coach used to always say, she was like, I'm standing in a room of crazy people who are desperately chasing after perfection, knowing full well it doesn't exist. And I think there's like a small degree of that in Formula One, of like, you are fighting and chasing after this perfection so intensely and so fiercely, but does it even exist? Like,
yeah. I mean, is there anything such, like, is there even a thing as a perfect race? Like, we say that, like, you drove a perfect race, like, you did great, and it's like, no, there's no such thing. There's always going to be mistakes,
always gonna be
whether it's
thing.
personal or the car, or, like, strategy-wise. So it's like, all these drivers are striving for perfection, where perfection does not exist. It is an unattainable goal, but at the end of the day, it's really just a battle of who can be more perfect,
right,
but not actually ever reaching that end thing.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I feel like I might be somewhat showing this as like a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all that they're like all kind of chasing perfection. Of course, like that's the normal thing to do, to be like, I want to be perfect. I want to be the best. Like, that is a completely normal thing to feel, to have as a thought at, like, when you are a competitor. Like, that's totally normal, and I'm not saying that it's like a bad thing. I'm just drawing connection between my own personal experience as a dancer and competitive, and being competitive in motorsport. Sorry. Not great race though.
Fantastic race.
Fantastic.
Every second of it. Well, I mean, I guess we should probably discuss the huge issue with this race. And the runoff of Turn 4. Turn 4 was just the star of the show for this race, I feel like. And I guess people's real issue with it was that it ended up coming down to Max versus Lewis, obviously. And what happened is that Max ended up overtaking Lewis in the runoff of Turn 4. And I think even within that lap, ended up giving the position back to Lewis.
It was like almost instantaneous.
It was very quick, and I was like, oh, we're not gonna like wait for a call kind of thing. But he gave back that position to Lewis. I guess for fairness sake, I think, just to be like, yeah, I passed you on the outside. That was illegal kind of thing. But people had a lot of issues with just the entirety of Turn 4 in the runoff area for multiple reasons. And I saw people were like, well, Lewis was using the runoff and everybody else wasn't. Like, he was getting a leg up compared to this, that, and the other person. Mm-hmm. Or well, technically, like, Matt shouldn't have given that position back. He was already ahead of them, mm-hmm. ahead of him, when he was going into the corner, everything. And I think it's important to note that literally Lewis was not the only one to be using the runoff in Turn 4. I'm pretty sure every car was using it to some extent. But it ended up being that Lewis did end up getting like a warning from the stewards for using the runoff. And someone like painstakingly went through the footage to kind of just like divulge the situation. And they basically said, like, yeah, Lewis, like, everybody was using the runoff, but Lewis was significantly using more compared to everybody else. So that's why he ended up getting a warning. And that wasn't something that anybody kind of knew during the race. And I think that's an important thing to note, that, like, while there were no track limits on that corner during the race, I guess they were still like, yeah, you can't actually go that far. Like, there's still a limit to it, which I think the FIA just needs to be more clear about these things, because in the moment it felt like such a wishy-washy kind of thing.
Well, that was kind of my thing when I was looking at it, because I'm not gonna boast and pretend that I know everything about tracks and track layouts and everything, but, like, I just was looking at it and I was like, you have to be consistent.
Yeah.
In what your verdict is. And they weren't. There was a lot of wishy-washiness between qualifying and practice in the race in terms of corner 4. And I was like, you kind of just gotta say something and stick with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, there are people on Twitter who did and represented far more research than I could ever do, and I'm not gonna, like, pretend that I know it as much as them, but I that's just, like, my 2 cents, as I'm like, when it comes to something like track limits and, like, how you can operate around a particular corner, you have to be consistent with what your narrative is.
Exactly. I mean, like, the thread I'm referring to is by @NorthHertSam. Hertz is spelled HERTS. But they did a really great job of just, like, here's what Max was doing, because he was told that he could take more of the curve. But notice how Sergio was not doing the same because he wasn't told the same thing. Like, this, that, the other thing. And, like, I've even seen people try and make comparisons to what happened between Lando and Charles. How I think Lando got pushed off by Charles. But, again, that's a different scenario.
If you're getting
I feel like
pushed off, yeah.
It was kind of like all of these, while people are, like, making good points, it's like we all have to take these situations on track piece by piece. Like, you can't really compare 2 situations that only appear to be similar when the circumstances are very different. Because, like, the battle between Lando and Charles, while it took place at the same corner, was not the same as what happened between Max and Lewis, if you get what I'm saying. So, it's very interesting, I will say. Debating corners and overtaking, and just reading people's opinions and explanations is so... Who knew one corner and one runoff area could be so exciting?
Polarizing. I mean, I didn't say anything. I was just going through and, like, lurking and reading what other people had to say, because I looked at it and I was like, this is a little out of my depth. I'm not really I'm not in a position to be talking about this and, like, giving some, like, really bold statement or opinion. But I was going through and reading, and I was like, man, there's so many different, like, thoughts coming in from every which way. There's so much happening. Yeah, I'd never thought about a turn that much in my life.
No, I never thought I'd be this interested in a turn, yet I was, like, reading everybody's opinion. It's like, Jesus Christ. But, yeah, I think that was, like, the most exciting thing from the race, is just everything that happened. Right. And I think Max made the error, as much as people want to, like, blame Lewis or whatever, because people just love to blame Lewis for things. I think Max made a vital error letting Lewis pass so quickly and where he did, because I was watching footage of it, and it was very obvious where Max allowed Lewis to pass him up. He lost so much momentum, and he went backwards instead of going forwards. I think he should have let Lewis by at a different Just so that because like watching the footage, you see him slow down, let Lewis pass, and then Lewis just takes off because he has more momentum going into the corner than compared to Max.
Right.
And so it's like, at the end of the day, I feel like if Max would have played it differently, either not letting Lewis pass, take a 5-second penalty, or letting Lewis pass at a different area, we could have had a different result at the end of it.
I mean, I saw someone say, and it's very true, it was Red Bull's race to lose, and they did.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, I guess it's like, maybe it doesn't give Red Bull enough credit, always putting it in their hands, but at the same time, they are the top dog at this point.
Yeah, I don't think it's always putting all the credit. I mean, like, we've seen Mercedes do the same thing with the disastrous 30s costume, and they blew that one. They blew that one. Like, we've seen Mercedes do the same thing. And I think that phrase can be applied throughout the history of Formula One to all of, like, kind of the quote-unquote top teams. It's like, there comes a point where it was your race to lose, and you did lose it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll agree with that.
Thank you.
I mean, the only other thing that we can really talk about with this race was, I mean, lap 1, Mazepin spun out. And at that same area, we ended up seeing Mick lose control of his car as well. But that Haas looks dangerously unstable.
Haas, literally, I described it to you earlier on FaceTime. I was like, it's straight up a rickety death trap on wheels. Like,
it looks so unstable in the corner. And I mean, granted, both drivers are rookies. They're not as experienced with the car. But at the same time, they should not both be spinning out at the same corner.
Right. That's where I was kind of like, this isn't a driver error. Like, I feel like that's one of those things in Formula One where if there's enough overlap, you can kind of look at a situation and be like, this can't be fully pinned on the driver. We kind of have to look at everything else that's happening right now. And what's happening is that car is unstable. And, like,
it doesn't look nice. It doesn't look nice at all. I would hate to drive that car, to say the least.
Driving that car, racing that car. I mean, that's the other
being
thing.
Competitive in that car is not a possibility.
In that car, I'm like, literally, I swear, that car is gonna give me anxiety every weekend.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like when Mazepin spun off in a similar area where Grosjean spun last year. Or crashed, I should say. He didn't really spin.
My stomach dropped.
Oh, yeah. I was like, God, please not any other corner but this one. Please, not this fucking corner. And luckily, it was only really damaged to the front end of the car. And Nikita walked away fine. But, yeah, that car looks like a death trap. That's not a good thing.
Yeah. And I will say this now to, like, cover my ass, whatever, so no one takes me out of context or whatever. I don't support Nikita Mazepin. I don't support anything that he does or says. I don't agree with him, and, like, I do wish him a very lose every race, but I do not want to see him hurt. I don't want to see anybody hurt.
Yeah. I mean, right now there's discourse going on Twitter. I won't go into it because I don't care to go into it, but I agree. There's always discourse on Twitter. What am I talking about? I will say the same thing, that as much as I don't like Nikita and I don't like who he is, I would never wish injury or ill will on him. Exactly. Do I not mind that he didn't finish the race at all and was out on the first lap? I don't really mind.
I'm like,
but I mean, I don't wish him harm, and I would rather just see his car fail and just shit off on the side of the road than him spin out.
Right.
But, I mean, yeah, I'll say that.
Yeah. That's
Fuck you, Nikita. That's
That
all I
literally
have to say.
perfectly sums up my feelings. I just, like, I don't
Fuck you, but I hope you never get hurt.
I don't want you to get hurt. But I hope
I just don't want you to score any points.
I don't want you to score any points. And I mean, like, and also, because I've had people say this to me, they've been like, come on, you can't even give him his F1 debut. And hear me now. I've been saying this for so long, and I'm so frustrated about this. His ability to drive does not matter. It does not matter when you take into account that he has harmed people. And this is like even if you're the kind of person who likes to cry false at people who make statements of sexual assault, like, he directly physically assaulted someone. He defended his fans being racist towards Yuki Tsunoda. Like, his actions and what he puts out publicly onto the media is harmful. And no amount of good driving cancels that out. And, like, even whatever the fuck you want to say. No.
Exactly.
And so, no, I'm not going to give him his F1 debut. No. I don't owe him anything.
No. I agree. I agree.
This is just the people who like to... I'm just getting irritated now. So I'm going to stop. I'm just getting irritated.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that.
I've gotten some real annoying TikTok comments in the past couple days. And I'm just like, oh my god. That's just me being a bitch.
I mean, was there anything else exciting about this race? I mean, this whole race was pretty exciting, but I feel like we've covered everything.
Yeah, I feel like I've said my piece. I've screamed into the void.
Yeah, I look forward to Imola. It kind of feels good to be back there, going back there again this year.
Right.
If Seb gets cursed by the cat again,
he
fucking sucks for him. He deserves it.
But
I'm excited for them to be back there. And, I mean, is that where Yuki practiced before the season started?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
I think that is. So I feel like he has the most experience on that track compared to anyone. So,
Yuki.
Let's go, Yuki! I'm so excited. But yeah.
We will be back next week for a discussion on Drive to Survive 3, featuring a special guest. Not gonna tell you who. But we're
She's lovely.
She's wonderful. She's lovely. We're very excited to have her on. So we'll see you then. I wanted to put links in the description about the uptake in anti-Asian crimes in relation to COVID, and how we can stay informed and stay involved, because that's really important. So.
Very good. Very good.
Stay safe. Stay cool.
Yes. We love you.
Bye.